But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CVRcade World Cup Racing, the run-up to the next season of the World Cup. I am Beth York, and I'm going to take you through a 4-race Omnium tonight on CVRcade. We have a low-skill event, a medium-skill event, a high-skill event. All of them have different point multipliers, and the first race is what we call a low-skill event. Just 3 minutes to go. Corner caper ability, quantum shift ability, uncrashable ability, and, of course, one comeback kid as a power-up. So we have a great lineup tonight. We've got Aaron, we've got Homer, looks like we've got Kayla in there. We've got Luis, who's back from Team Cognition. We've got Daniel. Lots of racers warming up out on course right now. You can see Aaron there, throws a leg over just in time, getting to the pen. You can see Darren there, Daniel there checking his watch, coordinating, saying, I am ready. And again, Luis, who's coming back from a little bit of a break. Luis, welcome to the broadcast. And of course, Casey Shum, who also raced in the earlier Omniums. Just about 2.5 minutes to go. Casey, you're back for more? Oh, we got Nigel. Don't forget my friend Nigel. Oh. Nigel, that's right. So Casey, you raced the earlier Omniums. It was pretty tough, but you're ready for some more.
Yeah, this should be a good round too. It's a good round of tracks here. Gets interesting. The third one, Mountain Bike by Jesper, seems to be a slugfest with the narrowed lanes, and kind of ends up being the hurt locker there every time. But yeah, should be a good fun time.
Well, it doesn't help that one happens after Cityscape New York with 3 laps, which is also a slugfest leading up to the slugfest.
Yeah, it's big power on that one. Uncrashable, so you can kind of somewhat turn your brain off, but you still got to follow moves and can still get blocked. But you at least don't have to mind the corner speeds, and you can attack around the corners, things like that.
Maybe that's why it's one of my favorite courses when it's on Uncrashable. I don't have to think about it too much. Well, good luck to you, Casey. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, as I say, I kind of hope that one's a little easier this time than it was earlier. I know it was hard for you guys earlier. It was super hard for us. So hoping this crowd doesn't make it as hard on New York this time.
Oh, I wouldn't count on that, Casey. You've got a pretty stacked field out there. They're going to give you a run for your money, but good luck to you. And we'd flashed to Nigel in between when I cut off Casey, but Nigel the Nightmare is also in the broadcast. Nigel, you absolutely killed it with Team Velocity earlier today. Back for more.
Yeah, no, that was great this morning for me. That was a lot of fun. Kudos to Timothy and his team. It was toe-to-toe, some really good racing. That was a lot of fun.
And we will talk a little bit more about the different ways that we're racing on CVRcade. We're awfully glad to have you in the pen. Just over 30 seconds to go. This is Aquavello. This is a one-time multiplier. It is a low skill event, meaning that the racers can't crash out on course. There's a corner caper ability, a quantum shift where they can phase through each other. There's my friend Homer. Good luck to you, Homer. Just over 10 seconds. We'll check back in. This is his third Omnium of the day. And of course, we have Aaron Starling here also in the pen here. Hope he's had dinner and is ready to go. 3, 2, 1, and they're going to be out of the gate here. The name of the game on this one is not to lose the front of the pack, because the drafting mechanics are such that if you do miss that front group, it is awfully hard to come back, and that's why you have only one chance to use the comeback kid to close up the gap. If you do miss that front, oh boy, there goes a little bit of an echo right here on board with Nigel. You can see him absolutely drilling it there. We've got Timothy, Daniel, Casey, Aaron, Kayla. Looks like Homer and Kayla both using their comeback kids, trying to make connection here. Just a second or two back here from the group, so they can't let too much time get in between them and the riders in front of them. Homer's activation here of the comeback kid, 45 seconds of extra power. He's going to make connection here with the group and carry that momentum right through because, as I said, quantum shift is activated, so he's able to phase right through the other raider there. You saw it on the screen. This is CVRcade Racing. These folks are racing on their bikes that are driving their avatars through the game. And we have just 1.7 kilometers to go, side by side with Nigel and Casey, both in the front pack here. Nigel hanging on the front here. You can see the equalized heart rate. You can see the power that they're putting down. And this is not a course that you need the power at the beginning, and then you need to just sit in the draft and mind your position. But you can get kind of lackadaisical if the race was any longer. It gets really easy to get thrown off the back if you just start to float to the front and float to the back. So you really have to be constantly monitoring the power on the pedals, not overdoing it, maximizing the draft, and then being prepared for a high power sprint finish that is all about timing. So Nigel was in that race earlier today. Casey was in that race earlier today. We've got Daniel here, Team Cognition. These racers are all racing for individual spots, but there are teams affiliated with each of these racers. Homer and Daniel, Team Cognition, are in here tonight. And we have Timothy, just released his new team name, Team Hive, and he was in the team run-up race earlier in Zone L today. Let's see what he has left. He's on a keyboard. Never mind. We do have Timothy in here doing the practice that's necessary, learning, just completely honing his craft. 0.7 kilometers to go. Homer riding physically tonight. Again, I said this is his third Omnium of the day. Just absolute beast. Comes out. He says, I'm just going to get some more miles. So he's maybe not racing it. He's maybe doing it for some fitness and for some training. Here we are. 0.4 kilometers to go. Once they cross that finish banner, they have 0.3, just one lap to go here. So when they come across the start and finish, whoa, Luis comes across with the comeback kid. You know what? I didn't see that coming. Holy smokes. But I think he might be a lapped rider. So that is why he might not be taking that top spot. But he did come by in a shot. 0.1 kilometers to go. Nigel's on the front. 900 glides, 975. Daniel on his heels. 530. Is he going to be enough to come around? Nigel comes. Daniel, Casey. Nigel, Daniel, Casey, Homer. That is your top four. Nigel, Daniel, Casey, Homer on the front there by fractions. And if Frank was in the broadcast right now, he'd be telling me it was by 0.004 100ths of a second here. Here is Daniel coming now. This is him catching his breath. Let's take a look at the replay here. You can see with one lap to go, Luis was actually a lapped rider and he accelerated through the bunch. It does look like Nigel came up out of the saddle reacting, thinking that he might have had to catch up with that rider. Casey also up out of the saddle, digging in, making sure he's not caught flat-footed here. Side by side, Nigel, Daniel, Casey. It was a sprint to the end, 0.2 kilometers to go. They've come underneath that little awning. They're going to come around the corner. Nigel holds the front position. Daniel and Casey, he manages to hold them both off. It does look like Daniel did take the top spot, excuse me. And then that was how the cookie crumbled. Daniel, I miscalled it. I said Nigel, and it was you. You did come by. I see it come up on the scoreboard, man. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I was actually pretty lucky. I saw Luis come flying through. I didn't know he was lapped, so I just went for it. My goal was to just get off the front and hope everyone's comeback kids would burn out on me as they were trying to catch up to him and he would take the win. But I guess it was good enough to get me the sprint. So it works out in the end. One of us got it.
Well, then as I was seeing that he was a lapped rider and then seeing you there on the front, I was like, is this the play? Was that a cognition play, letting him be a lapped rider to fake out the competition? That's pretty smart.
He could have been reading my mind. We're pretty close like that.
I love the brainwave transmission that's happening, but I do assume that you guys are in chat here. So you've got one down, you've got Nigel right behind you, you've got Casey, you've got Homer. You're coming into race number 2, 3 laps with Uncrashable on Cityscape New York City. You have any tactics? You do have a great teammate there in with you tonight.
I'm definitely going to be trying to work with the team, try and help each other out, see how well we can do together. Just follow moves as they come or make attacks as opportunities come up. We'll see how she goes.
Well, that will not give anything away to your competitors. Well said. Well said. I think that sounds like a solid plan. Let's check in with Nigel. Nigel, I did think you held off Daniel. I miscalled that at the end, but the scorecard says it was Daniel. So close, so close. How are you feeling coming in on your second Omnium of the day back into New York City here?
Well, they got me warmed up, which was good. Yeah, I think we all got caught out. We saw somebody come flying past, and I thought, oh, somebody's gone early, so I just went for it. But I think it was a lap rider.
It was.
Yeah, but in the end, that probably got me the second place because I was the first of our group to go.
Yeah, well, I did notice when I looked down when I saw him fly around that the time gap, and then I could see you and Casey starting to go. So I figured you guys were also thinking he was. But that was 0.3 kilometers ago. That was a good time to go.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad you're warmed up, although I know it's a summer afternoon there where you are. I took off my sweater vest and my knit hat for the broadcast, so I didn't look like I was in the North Pole. But so I will take some of your heat. Good luck in Cityscape New York. Let's go ahead and check in with Casey, who took third on that. Casey, coming into New York City. Power course. You already told me a little bit about how this one races. Anything different from your earlier Omnium that you're going to carry in, maybe in terms of tactics here tonight?
No, not so much. Just I can only rely on myself, which actually, that last race reminded me of that. I knew Luis was a lap down. I was watching the rider list. I knew he was coming through, and I had written him off before he came through. But I did not assume every competitor in that pack would jump after him. So I knew it was fine, but then I had to late react to everybody else. So, but it was still good with a third. It was far enough out. But yeah, this one's different with the power-ups we have. It can be played multiple ways. And it was not cut and dry how to use them earlier today.
Right. Yeah. Well, we did see different things between K and L just because of the team dynamics, but good luck on this. I'm checking in with the chat here. It says, Timothy Tremont wants to know, will we see Cognition versus Cycling Hub in the next test race? And then let's see, more aerodynamic. I'm kind of trying to go back. Daniel Out Terror says, Daniel is awesome. You have a fan out there, Daniel. He is awesome. And we do look like we have an answer here that he is on Vancouver Island. Thank you so much for cheering for your racers in the broadcast. They really appreciate it. You're watching CVRcade live racing. These folks are on their bikes, they're on keyboards, they're racing against each other in this virtual world. They're driving power to their pedals and they are flying through. We are coming to Cityscape New York in just over 30 seconds. We have Daniel, Nigel, Casey, 1, 2, 3, Homer in fourth, Aaron, Kayla, Timothy, and Louise. And we will check back in with Aaron and Kayla and Timothy and Louise during the next end of this race here. But just with 20 seconds to go, I don't want to bother them here because we want them to have all of the oxygen in their lungs here. So, we are just going to happen in 10 seconds. Again, the power-ups on this course. There's Daniel, the last race winner, uncrashable ability. They will not be able to crash. 2 Razor's Edge and 1 Great Responsibility, and they are off out of the gate. Daniel up out of the saddle. You can see him digging in. Well, we have a new rider in here. Glenn on keyboard here is also here on the front here, drilling it down, setting down a blazing pace that Casey and Daniel are chasing down. Now, is Glenn going to be riding for one of these other riders. If they can catch his wheel and hang on, they are going to have a benefit to perhaps break this field up early. This is a power course. You do not have to worry about crashing on these corners. You do have to play the corner. You do have to play the position, because if you do take the inside line on the corners, you can get around the course a little bit faster. As you see right there, Glenn, as if on cue, moved to the inside, and then Casey and Daniel follow. Casey coming around the outside here saying, I do not want to get jammed up behind this rider who's on a keyboard. He's measuring what his legs can do. He's not pushing much harder than threshold on that, but he doesn't want to get caught behind. He doesn't want to be getting the pace setter. Casey likes to set the pace. He doesn't want a pace imposed upon him. So if he's drafting, it's a choice. And if he pulls out and pulls around, that's also a very intentional move here. Make no mistake, on board with Luis here. Luis back from a little bit of break. Team cognition. He's got his rider and teammate Daniel also there in the mix. He just makes connection here with that front group. Does not want to get caught up behind Casey. And now he's making connection with Daniel. So side by side with Daniel and Casey here on the screen. Daniel in the blue kit, the turquoise blue kit, and Casey in the orange and blue kit. So those two racers side by side, avatars in the game, and it does look like the little bit of a train here coming. It does look like Daniel might be, I know he's right there, but he can probably maximize and close down and get a little more draft here. If he does bump into the wheel in front of him, he will lose a little bit of speed. So one of the skills in the game is closing that gap without bumping the wheel in front of you, because that can get expensive over time. You accelerate, you surge, and you bump into the wheel. Out in real life, you get surgy, you slap into the wheel, you're taking people down. So with Uncrashable on here, they don't have to worry about taking each other down, but there is a penalty in their speed if they do start whacking wheels. Now, we do have Kayla coming up here trying to join the party. She's wearing the Pink Panther kit. She did race earlier for Team Hive. Currently, Team Hive is newly formed by Timothy Tremont, finally has a name, and it was well worth the wait, because I can't wait to see that kit in game by Team Hive. They did race earlier, and it was so awesome to see here. There's Timothy there on the screen there in his pink kit. But you need to go to CVRcade Riders. You need to go to Team Hive on Facebook, and you need to see Timothy and Kayla's logo that they were sporting today in spirit in the team league that were racing earlier. So they could be working on some tactics right now leading up to the team league that you know that is coming here. Timothy and Kayla in a peloton. Keyboard player right now, Timothy, and I believe Kayla is a physical rider here. So I'm sure they are in tight communication here. And if they can, they're just like 1 or 2 seconds off of Glenn, who's on the front. Now, I don't know if Glenn is working, trying to keep the front and hold the pace back to perhaps let them close, because I do know, I do believe that Glenn he's not wearing the same kit, but I think he is friends with Timothy. And when you're in the game, you play together, you work on some things. So, we also know that Casey raced earlier, and he might be bringing a little bit of fatigue, whereas the team cognition riders here, Luis were on board with. Luis and Daniel did not race an earlier Omnium, so they might have a little more legs here. 7.9 kilometers to go out of 10.7 on this New York City course. 3 laps. Again, it's 10.8 kilometers, uncrashable ability, 2 Razor's Edge, and 1 great responsibility. Now, I have not seen any power-ups dropped. Timothy and Kayla are just 2 seconds back. I think they're going to be able to manage to close that down. The pace on the front is not blistering. 41 kph right now is not particularly, I mean, they're putting the power down, 365 equalized watts there by Glenn. But Luis, you can see Casey, they're kind of drafting in there. Their heart rates are up, but there's just 275, maybe 75% of FTP. Yeah, I can do that math in my head, more or less. So a nice little train going, but we don't see any movement. I don't know if we're going to see anyone animate the race. Will it be Luis and Daniel here in communications that are saying, okay, we've got the numbers here, or are they going to try to conserve for a little bit more and then make their move? And now that's something that they're deciding, they're measuring, and we do see a little bit of a push here on the front, not wanting to get caught behind Glenn. Daniel comes around Glenn. Luis stays behind Glenn, so I wonder if he's going to follow on that. And sometimes you just don't want to get pinned in the race there. Now, what I don't know is if Luis was coming back from a little bit of a break, so I don't know if he's been out for 30 days or not, and if his status has gone from competitor to cadet. We do have race licenses in the game based on experience and what the game knows about you, and this is really exciting. If you're just watching us on Mixer, welcome to the program. This is CVRcade World Cup Racing. This is race 2 of a 4-race Omnium on CVRcade. CVRcade is a physical esports game. CVRcade allows these racers to be riding their bikes physically, driving power to the pedals, and being able to move their avatars through this virtual space. This particular track is called Cityscape New York. We just rode on a fantasy track called Aqua Velo, which is more of a space theme. But right now, these racers, power up combination. Whoa, he just dropped it all. Razor's Edge and great responsibility. Razor's Edge, what that allows you to do is to cut through the air more aerodynamically. So there are physics. A response by Casey up out of the saddle with also the combo. Razor's Edge and great responsibility. These two power-ups are super powerful, and you can see that Luis does not get away. Daniel, and then Casey 1-2 punch comes around, drops his razor blade as well to get around him. The speed he's going, 70 kph on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see all the rider stats. Luis trying desperately to hold up to him. Does he drop? Luis and Casey trading. He does drop another power up there. Side by side, these two racers are starting to duke it out. Casey's got 1 second on Luis, but the heart rate tells the story. Luis, who has been off for a couple of weeks, 203 on that equalized heart rate, which means that the game has not recorded. This is the highest the game has recorded his heart rate in the game. All of these racers are racing physically. You can see the physiological cost to them is in their heart rate here. Side by side, Luis, Team Cognition, Casey Shum on the right-hand side, Team Cycling Hub, the Team Cycling Hub legacy here that we have on CVRcade from the riders. He made a roster switch last season to join Team Cycling Hub, and he is showing his colors here. And Team Cognition, Luis is not going to let go of Casey. 4.8 kilometers to go. This particular track is a 2-time multiplier. All of these racers, you can see at the bottom of your screen the score for the racers. You can see the racers down the left-hand side. You can see that we are in the second race here, and you can see right now, if everyone finishes in the place that they do, Casey, Daniel, Luis, position 1, 2, 3, but that could be shaking up a lot here on the front here. Daniel trying to pick up some points, trying to make connection with his teammate that is up the road alone with Casey, because right now, if Daniel can get up there and help and get some more points and try to give Luis some help and get some more points for himself while he's at it. But right now, Luis decides to tuck in behind, but Daniel digging. Nice work, Daniel. 300 equalized odds, 192 on his heart rate. Oh, rolling. He's saying, Casey there communicating on the screen here, saying, go around, trade the pole. Yeah, there we go. Okay, keep working. Let's keep breaking, he's trying to say. Break away, trade the pole. So Casey said, listen, man, I pulled you take a turn. And so after the punches were pulled, this is what's so interesting about this game. Luis makes an attack, Casey counters attack, and then they decide, hey, you know what? We both took those punches. We're going to just keep taking turns on the front. Right now with Luis in the front, he's taking on more wind than Casey. Casey had just been in the front taking on more wind than Luis. And what that means, if you were to drive down the road today and stick your hand out the window, you'd feel the breeze on your hand. That's what they're feeling. They're feeling the wind in this virtual environment, the wind that they create as they move through the air, and the drafting dynamics of the racer riding behind here. Casey trying to communicate some more stuff to me. I might not be picking up on it. I'm trying, man. You and I have the brain meld oftentimes here. Casey and Luis here side by side. Team Cognition here on the left-hand side. Casey on the right-hand side. 398 on the equalized watts, and it does look like Luis is staying right there with him. Like 43 kph they're both going right now. What they have in this particular game, this particular track, it's a 2-time multiplier for points. We have 2 more races coming up. One's a mountain bike course and one is on the rings of Saturn. So if you like what you're seeing, make sure you like and follow. Go ahead and follow us. We race every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday here on CVRcade. We race 3 times a day, that at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 10 p.m. Those are Eastern times. We can do the conversion for you, the world clock, but that happens to be my home time zone, so I can easily rattle that off for you. But we have 2 more great, exciting races. So this is not all over. These guys are killing themselves, and they know that they have 2 more brutal races ahead here. Casey gives the thumbs up saying, thanks, Louise. Perfect. That's great pace right there. You just keep nailing it there on the front. Louise says, okay, Casey, I'll take it for a while. And then you come around. Mountain Bike Course by Jesper is next. It's the high skill event. Unlike this Cityscape New York, where they can't crash if they overlap wheels, they can't crash if they go too fast. On the next event, they will have the possibility of crashing. So we're going to go from the city streets of Manhattan to the mountain bike course around the lake. So they're going to be changing their bikes out. They're going to be their avatar bikes, not their real bikes, and they'll be riding on an entirely different course with different set of power-ups, with different set of dynamics, and it's going to kill them, because that's going to be the one that has the highest multiplier. So right now, these guys drilling it on the front have to dig deep to finish this event. 2.1 kilometers to go. We also have further down the way, we have Nigel, who raced earlier today. We have Timothy, who's on keyboard. So if you're watching this, there are some racers who are playing on keyboard. This is Nigel Team Velocity, who raced earlier, showed up for his team, absolutely just lit up the board with power. We have Homer Thompson. He races, this is his 3rd Omnium of the day. He races at like 7 o'clock in the morning, then he goes and races at like lunchtime, and then he races at night. This guy is a machine, and he's one of my favorite people to watch, and I enjoy riding with him. We ride in the game a couple times a week just for fun, not even racing. Good times with my friend Homer, who's absolutely drilling it here for practice and for fun. Daniel, Team Cognition here, sitting 2nd in the leaderboard. He happens to be about 15 seconds back from the front group. So at this point, with 1.5 kilometers to go, he is not going to make a connection to Casey and Louise. So what he needs to do is he needs to hold off the riders behind him. So he needs to hold that position to maximize his points on the leaderboard, because he's not going to catch the racers in front of him. So he has to be watching who's coming up behind him. And it does look like Timothy Tremont just dropped a power up and is coming up behind him. So that could be something of an issue here. Glenn is in front of him. And you can see Glenn there, who's also on a keyboard, trying to get his way back within 2 seconds of the physical riders here. You can see up the way there that he's coming around. And of course, he doesn't have his legs that are tired. He's been just clickety-click on the keyboard. So you can play this game on keyboard. 0.9 kilometers to go here. We do have some folks in the chat here. Thank you so much for joining us here. Homer, is Homer on the East Coast? I think he's somewhere in the United States. And then Fog7 says Casey and Louise are not going to like Glenn, at least not bringing anyone with him. So 0.7 kilometers to go. I don't know if Glenn's going to bring anyone with him. It looks like he didn't bring any with him. We do have a Cognition fan out there. Allison says go Homer, Louise, and Daniel. And here we go. Final sprint, 0.5 kilometers to go. Will it be Louise? Will it be Casey? They both used Razor's Edge and Great Responsibility. We know Casey used 2 Razor's Edge. There goes Glenn with a Razor's Edge coming down. You don't see him on screen, but I see him lighting up on the right-hand side of the board. And it was Louise did save 1 Razor's Edge. Casey on the chase, trying to make up that speed, but it is so hard to make up that speed when someone has the Razor's Edge. Will he be able to hold it? 0.2 kilometers to go. Casey, 700 equalized watts, drilling it in. It's going to be close on the line. He might actually take him 800 equalized watts, but no, it does. Luis is able to hold it. Luis, Team Cognition. Allison in the chat has to be pretty happy about that one. Casey gave him a good push there, but in the end, it came down to that power up. Here comes Homer crossing the line. Good job, Homer, in fourth, ahead of Daniel. He did take some points away from Daniel, and here comes Daniel, team cognition, 400 equalized watts, up out of the saddle, giving us a big, strong finish here, trying to make sure he does not let Kayla pass him, and he holds off Kayla, doesn't want Kayla to take the points, and then here comes Kayla across the line. So that was pretty intense. And here comes Nigel, who is coming to a close on this, who absolutely drilled earlier in the earlier events here. Homer, Thompson, Team Velocity. Team Velocity did take it in Zone L, thanks to this man right here with his teammates. So congratulations, and he's coming back for more. You just can't get enough racing here on CVRcade. But let's take a look at that replay. It was a break with about halfway through the race where Casey and Luis traded punches. Here you can see Casey saying, "Hey, let's take turns on the front here. Let's draft. Let's come around, step aside, come around. Let's trade pulls." And so they start picking up on that, and they do. But then at the end, it comes down to a fair sprint. The fair sprint is like, I pulled some, you pulled some, and then it came down to Luis having one power up and timing it just right, making Casey respond. Luis got enough on a jump with that power up. Casey was not able to get to speed as fast as Luis, and that was the difference there in the race when they were pulling punches, was that power up in the end. Let's check in with Luis. I promised I would do that. Luis, if you've caught your breath, a word, sir.
Yeah, that was good. Thanks to Casey. I wanted to do that, so I actually raced on Saturday, but I kind of took it easy for a bit, and I tried to work with Casey back on Saturday, but I just didn't have the legs, and I couldn't tell him, hey, just go. And today we had the chance to do that. I know that he raced in the morning, so I'm sure he's got some fatigue in his legs. And I went a little earlier than I wanted because I saw Glenn, and then I saw that he used his power up. So I was like, if I don't go now, he's gonna take the win. So yeah, it was good racing. Kudos to Casey.
Well, it was awfully fun to see you work together. I was trying to read Casey's hand signals, and I'm like, I think he says go around, trade pulls. So it didn't have the backstory there. So I should have just described what he was doing, and you probably would have gone, Beth, I know.
Yeah, it was good.
You are sitting on top of the leaderboard, my friend, with Casey right behind you and your teammate Daniel in third. That feels pretty good coming into Mountain Bike Course by Jasper. Any strategies here? 2.5 multiplier?
Yeah, that took a good effort from me. I'll just, ride with the pack and see what happens in the race.
Well, congratulations to you. Let's check in with Casey. I was having a hard time following you, but I finally got the memo there. I'd catch up.
Yeah, you got us on the same page. Yeah, the circle, the universal sign for pace line. Let's go. No, Luis did good there. That was exactly what I was trying to do. I thought he had a power up left, and I knew I didn't. So I figured work with him. If he didn't have a power up left, I think I could beat him at the end. And if he did have a power up left, there's no way I can beat him. And working with him got us away from everybody else. So I threw a good block on Glenn coming with that power up, and Luis had the power up. So yeah, it was good. It was fun.
So we've not seen a lot of great responsibility in the earlier CVRcade World Cup season. How do you find that power up, and what's your strategy when using it?
On that course, it's a little different because there was no wind, there was no real obstacle. So I think everybody just used it paired with the razor, and off you go. The way I got the big pull is I dropped the second razor, which made me keep 70 kph through a second round of power-ups, essentially. And that got me up to Daniel. And I think that's the best use of it in the end. But, Daniel took off already having 5 seconds on me. So I like it. it's tougher if you try to use it on a course like this with obstacles. That's where I think the gamesmanship comes in big time.
Yeah, knowing precisely how long it's going to last and the speeds and stuff. Well, congratulations, you're sitting in second, and let's just check in quickly here with Daniel if he's available here. Just over a minute to go, Daniel. You're sitting in third. Team Cognition has 2 of the 3 riders on the podium so far. 2.5 multiplier. This is an important race.
It is, and it can crash. So I have to just focus, do my own thing, not think about points, not think about other riders, just run a clean race and let the results speak for themselves. And hopefully it works out. I'm just determined not to crash.
Don't crash. Just over 30 seconds to go. I'll let you. You won't. You got this, man. You got this. I'm rooting for you. All right. Just over 20 seconds to go on mountain bike course by Jesper. Was designed by Jesper. There is in the game the ability track builder for you to build a track. And this one is built by my co-commentator, my partner in crime, Jesper Anchor. 5 seconds to go. You see Luis up out of the saddle. There are less lanes for them to choose from. So this sprint out of the gate is super important. Getting that lane position. You can see the rocks on the side of the road. And right now they're currently invisible. That is quantum shift, which allows them to find those lane positions, and boom, then they become visible. Once they become visible, you cannot phase through them anymore. That is quantum shift ability. And it's only on for the first 10 seconds of these high skill races. And then they have to mind their lane position here. You can see we are on board here with Daniel. And Casey's right on his wheel here. Maybe Casey and Daniel. Aaron back in the mix here. Aaron on the front here, trying to get back and say, I love this course. I know how to race this course. This is going to be mine. I'm not going to let Casey and Daniel get too far ahead of me. I know this course. It's one of my favorites. Nigel, who raced earlier here in the group here. He can see Aaron there, does not want to lose. Homer comes up around him. He wants to maintain that lane position. Earlier, I got a little antsy and changed lanes and crashed at a really stupid place. So Nigel's not going to follow after my footsteps. Don't be like me. Be like Nigel. Stay in your lane when there's a lot of congestion like that. Back on board here with Homer into the corner. He has practiced this a billion times. He knows exactly how to ride that corner. So tricky when there's a number of riders, because if you exceed a certain corner speed, you start to slide out. If you exceed the corner speed too much, you just flat out exceed it, you will slide out and crash. So he played that perfectly, and that's from a lot of practice there. We do see, I do see that there is a inertia being used further down the way here. Was that by Timothy that's used the inertia? I just saw it flash up on screen. So the power-ups in this one are power plant, 1 inertia, and 1 wind at your back. So the way that those power-ups work, wind at your back, quite obvious. It gives you a little push of wind at your back, so you feel like a nice little hand on your back pushing you forward, giving you a little bit of a little bit of a push. Inertia, if you fire off inertia, it'll lock your bike into the speed that you were going when you activated that power up. So we've seen people mistakenly activate it when they're going not the speed they want to. So you do have to use that when you're at a top speed, but you have to be careful, because if you're using it at top speed and you have the likelihood of crashing through the corner. So on board here with Casey, he can see Timothy and Luis just 3 or 4 seconds up. You can see he knows this is the place where he can make up some speed. He adds a little bit of power here, tries to drill it to close up those gaps, because he knows the riders in front of him have these little rollers that they're going on. So while they're slowing down, if he can speed up, he can make up fractions of time here, trying to get back the connection. You would be surprised on some tracks that you can make up 3 seconds pretty easy, and then on some tracks the 3 seconds just feels unbearable. And that kind of depends on what you've got in your legs. And we know that Casey did race earlier today, but 3 seconds with 3 kilometers to go is certainly within his wheelhouse. It's a matter of when he's going to go and how he's going to go. Power plant, that particular power up just gives you 30 extra. It gives you some extra watts for a little bit of time, a little extra power for 5 or 10 seconds. So those are the power ups, and they're going to be strategically used here. 2.7 kilometers to go. I'll tell you, I always look at these races and I go, oh, it's just 5 kilometers. How hard can that be? And I'm just like, Oh my God, it's 5 kilometers. And then I have Saturn next, which is 8 kilometers. So these guys have more racing ahead. This is race 3 of a 4-race Omnium in Zone T of CVRcade World Cup racing. These racers, you can see Louise on the left-hand side. You can see Casey on the right-hand side, absolutely turning themselves inside out, physically riding their bikes. Their bikes are driving power to the pedals. Pedals are the power is being transmitted to the game. And then Casey, boom, fires off his inertia right there. He drilled it. He got himself up to speed, 48 kph. You could see that he was going faster than the riders in front of him. Said this is a good time to make up some speed. On the sides of the screens, you can see how fast the riders are going. So if you see that the riders are going 41 and you're going 45, you're going to close down that gap, certainly. Now he's going to come in and he's either going to ease off and take the draft after that extra burst of power, or he might come around with 1.9 kilometers to go. I would bet he's going to see if he can take Luis's wheel and say, man, I helped you in the last race. Let me take your wheel here. A little bit of sliding out here. They need to make sure that they don't crash out in the corner here. This could be a point of danger here. You can see those were our AI riders, or the bots there that just had a crash and respawn. And then boom, power up is dropped by Luis. That is the wind at your back, gives him a little bit of a push here, trying to chase down Timothy, who is on keyboard there in the pink. He's not a Pink Panther, he's Team Hive, and that pink is going to turn to yellow pretty soon. But Casey also trying to not lose track of Luis, who's up the way. He hops onto Timothy's wheel on the right-hand side of your screen, and 1.3 kilometers to go, but it is Luis who's got 3 seconds on Timothy and Casey. So how does this shake up the leaderboard? It keeps Luis there on top, Casey in second, and puts Timothy in third. So Casey can try to take some more points away from Timothy here if he wants to, going into the 2.5 multiplier to try to get more going into Saturn. But we don't know if that will be what we see happening here. Okay, just 1 kilometer to go. They're going to come around that tight corner that we've called Castrop Corner. I'm not even sure we've been calling it that anymore. Peter, this is an ode to you. We need to call this corner out in your honor. 1 lap to go. They're going to come across the start-finish banner, and they're going to have 1 lap to go here. And do not underestimate how important the play is. And this is what we see right here with Casey. Uses wind at his back, times it perfectly. We know that we saw him use inertia to close it down on the same place here. He's coming. He has the power plant. Boom. Helps him get up the climb here. He closes on Daniel, who also uses his power plant at the same time. And then it does look like Luis fired off inertia. Is that a mistake? That locks him into a speed. It gives Casey the opportunity to come around on the inside here and overtake Luis here, because he was locked into that speed. He just did not have enough. And now Luis is answering saying no, but that is exactly the type of play that we would see by Casey. 3 seconds back with a few laps to go. He just one by one uses his power up strategically and comes around Luis. Luis fires his inertia thinking it's going to help him, and it ends up hurting him. Casey comes around him. He's going to navigate this corner, slows down enough so that he doesn't crash, really slows down. He didn't want to crash, and then comes across the line, and Luis comes in second, Timothy third. It does look like Glenn is going to take third on that, but here comes Nigel here, who's going to take up fifth on the day. Nigel sitting fourth on the night in his second Omnium here, but woo, that was some really amazing tactics that we saw by Casey, just pinging it off 1 lap at a time. And then, of course, Nigel here sitting. Ooh, does look like Nigel actually, wait, Homer's going to get the points. They're going to bounce around. Okay, so as these live leaderboards happen, we do see how these racers are shaping up here. There's Aaron also coming across the line. He's like, no, man, I don't want to be interviewed right now. He's like, I'm riding, I'm working out. I'll talk. He'll talk. Hey, Aaron, what'd you think of that finish there?
Well, I haven't finished yet fully. But no, it was a close one. I saw them almost lap me at the finish, so I got a front row view to it. But maybe next time I'll be in the mix.
Yeah, I have confidence in you. In you. Here we are watching that replay of Casey Shum and Luis, who were also battling it out on the earlier racing here. We did see the second to last lap. We saw Luis activate his power up, but we saw at the end of the race that he used his inertia that allowed Casey to come on past and then dig in and take the finish here. All the way to the line. Luis never gave up because at the end there, Casey took the corner a bit conservatively, and it still wasn't enough for Daniel to come around, but it was, for Luis to come around, but it was so close there on the line there, and you can see that happy face when he finishes. He's pretty psyched about that. So man, Casey, well played on those power-ups, just one lap at a time, closing it down.
Yeah, that hurt. Those power-ups are good for that course because they're not super powerful. You can't really stack them that much. So, I mean, I played it well. Luis, I mean, that was everything I had at the end. When he dropped that inertia, I'm like, I don't want to go yet. But I knew he was locked and couldn't react. And then it's just racing for the corner. And Luis knew it too. Once you get to that corner, it's 3 pedal strokes out. But yeah, that was it at the end. That hurt.
Well, Saturn will feel great then, right?
Oh yeah, this one even worse. And also kudos to Timothy. When we started battling there at the end, he swung out to the side, got out of the way. I was just getting ready to dodge lanes for him not to block me, and he moved away from me, which to me in my head was a, have at it kind of thing. So I appreciate that. I assume that was intentional.
Well, yep, he is in on keyboard tonight, and I think that he's getting an extra practice. So it's nice to not interfere on the physical side of things. So, Casey, you're sitting on top, and you have 4 laps of Saturn: 2 weightlifted, 1 underdog, and 1 inertia with wind out on course. You raced it earlier. What did you learn? What are you bringing into it this time?
It looks prettier, but it hurts just as bad as it always has. We know this one well. We've been doing it for a long time. So, again, no monster power-ups here. So, they will make a difference, but they aren't game changers. So, it's going to be a battle.
Well, I think everyone's come out to play. Let's check in with Luis. Luis here, just over 2 minutes to go. Congratulations, some great racing. You and Casey back and forth, helping each other, then punching each other. This is crazy. This is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's also fun to race. I was hoping that Casey would race Zone T at some point. I think this is the second time I've raced against them on Zone T. And the first time was early on when I had just started racing CVRcade. And it was fun, it was fun to chase him up Rocky Mountains. And we're duking it out here, so it's fun. And also Timothy, I think he was trying to help me, but he was going just a threshold, and I wanted to try to get some space or somewhere space between me and Casey, so I was on his side, again, right besides Timothy. So if he was trying to help, cool, thanks, appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. We'll see how we do on Saturn. I don't have much left, but we'll give it our best.
Well, good luck to you. Just over a minute to go. Take a deep breath, get a sip of water here. Nigel has moved up to 3rd. I'm not going to go to other racers. I'm going to let everybody stay focused, but Nigel has moved up to 3rd place on the board. Homer 4th. Daniel also 5th. Great racing to the racers. I want to take a shout out here to our friends in chat here. Fog 7, Allison Duck, Crucible, Out Terror. Thank you all here for joining us in the broadcast. Shout out to to the racers. Who's your favorite? Cheer them on. I'll be back to like read these out here. Really appreciate you shouting out for these racers. They appreciate your support. So Fog 7, Allison Duck, Crucible, just Crazy Jester, please bring it in. Tay Fearless, thank you so much for joining here. We're going to be going in just about 15 seconds here. And this is Saturn. You can see the road looks a little different. You can see the wind out on course here, but it is just as brutal as it always is. 4 laps, 8 kilometers, 2 weight lifted, 1 underdog, and out of the gate they go. On the front here, Casey Shum drills it out of the gate, knows how to just set the pace down. And as I've said about Casey, he doesn't like to react to the pace. He likes to set the pace. Unless he's with his teammates, when he's working with them and letting his teammates set the pace, but he wants to be in the front. Casey, Daniel, Nigel, also part of this group. Nigel was an absolute monster earlier on Saturn here in the front here, comes around and it does fire his inertia early. I'm not sure that was what he intended to do. It seemed a little bit early, but maybe just the fatigue got a hold of him and he said, this is the place where I could actually benefit from it. But I would imagine he probably was thinking something different at that point, but we'll have to ask him. 7.4 kilometers to go there. We do see here Homer also here in the mix, just a couple seconds back with Timothy, with Glenn. He can see Casey. So you can see this point of view here. You give Homer a target and he's going to chase it down. That's what he's going to do. Vroom, vroom, vroom. We talk about having sound effects in the game here. This will be my vroom, vroom, vroom for you. Homer, I'm trying to give you that sensation of acceleration here. But it is Glenn just did change lanes here. Homer on the front saying, this is my course. I love Saturn. I enjoy riding Saturn. Nigel here, again, second Omnium of the day. Third Omnium for Homer. Second for Casey. Crazy racers. We love that they come out. We love all of the effort here, riding their bikes, getting their fitness on while they're having fun from all over the world. You can see, the flags on display here, all different parts all over the world. We all come together in CVRcade to race our bikes, to race on keyboards. Oh, Glenn goes down on the keyboard. Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tricky corner. Once you get the corner speed, if you lose yourself out on track, you can see the mini map on the bottom there, and you can see that first left hand leads into a loop-de-loo, and then there's a little kicker climb before you come around. And this is where Casey, Timothy does drop his power up to come back, but this is where Casey is trying to hold the front without using his power up. So he is digging in. He does see the power ups being dropped behind him, saying, well, if I can hold them off without using the power up, let them spend theirs, and I'm going to save mine in my back pocket. And when I need them, I'm going to pull out those extra power-ups and use them when I need them. But Casey, Nigel, Timothy, Homer, all of these racers here, just 1 or 2 seconds spread out here on board here. You can see with Luis, with Casey head down, drilling it. This is a course where you have these open spots where you can put your head down and drill because there's not a lot of technical corners. There's just a couple places where you really have to be mindful. So these riders are able to just feel the pain, and they are feeling the pain after. This is the 4th race in a 4-race Omnium, 2-time multiplier. You can see on the scoreboard there what's separating them. Casey on top, Louis second, Nigel in 3rd place, Daniel, Team Cognition, Luis's teammate in 4th, Homer in 5th, also Team Cognition. So the Team Cognition came out to play in a big way today. Casey, being the cooperative racer he has been working with Louise, and that's been to his benefit. The positive vibes that he's been giving is helping himself and also helping Louise. But I expect a slugfest at the finish that we've been seeing being traded back and forth. So on board here with Nigel, he was saying it's a hot summer afternoon there. Make sure he stays hydrated, maybe has some sugar here on his second Omnium. Again, Nigel racing earlier today, right now currently sitting in 3rd in this particular race and 3rd on the Omnium on the leaderboard. Absolute Nigel the Nightmare. I forget where I read that, but I'm just gonna stick that. I'm just gonna let you own it. I want to see his celebration I want to see his celebration on screen, and I want to see his celebration in the game. So Timothy on the front there on keyboard. Daniel, team cognition, just sees Nigel 3 seconds up the road going, I can get him. I see the determination on your face, Daniel. You can. Come on, chat. What do you have to say? Let's see. Nigel can get second. Coloring Birch, bye. Thanks for coming, Coloring Birch. Allison Duck says, ha ha ha, Nigel the Nightmare. Where did that come from? He's so nice. He is so nice, but on the bike, he is the nightmare. Sledge hits those, says, let's go, Timothy, let's go. Fog 7, Nigel can get second. Yikes, Luis, crashes cost 6 riders. Oh, that's different. Fog 7. Blah blah. It's further up. I might have read that already. Listen, keep the comments coming. Casey drops the power-ups here. Weight lifted coming up the climb. He did not. He's closing, coming around Timothy. He's got that corner. He's got to have one hand on the brake here. He swoops around here. He knows that he knows where he needs to slow down. He knows where he can use the power up. Fog 7 says that block earlier today. Boo. Crucible says the nightmare. Oh my goodness. There was a pile up on Saturn earlier today. I did happen to catch that here. But Casey on the front, Timothy in second, Nigel in third. So Nigel, you do have someone saying you can get second. Whoa, nice move there, Nigel. Brilliant racing. That little chicane before the finish is so hard to navigate. You come on the outside at 1 speed, you slide across, and if you exceed the corner speed through the chicane, that is where I would say 90% of the crashes happen. Because these track designers put those little technical things in right before the finish line when you're super fatigued, and that's where mistakes can happen. Fatigue and then wanting the finish banner and being just almost too aggressive for it. So 3.6 kilometers to go on race 4 of this 4-race Omnium in Zone T. Casey, Luis, Nigel, Homer, Daniel, Timothy, Glenn, and Aaron. That is how it's stacking up for the Omnium. But right now in this race, Casey's on the front, Timothy second, Nigel in third, and Homer in fourth. Homer just about 3 seconds back from Nigel. I think he has a good opportunity there, but Nigel, Homer is steady there. 400 equalized watts, dun, 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 just chugging away. That is no easy feat there. That is over threshold. This is his 3rd hour of racing. He's almost top 3 hours of racing. And if I interview him, I bet you he'd tell me he's just getting his miles in. He's just getting his miles in. Happy to be riding his bike. He does thousands and thousands and thousands of miles on his bike a year. And right now on his trainer is the more comfortable, well, maybe not comfortable on CVRcade because it's a lot of work, but it beats the freezing cold weather outside. Plus you get to race with all your friends here. 2.8 kilometers to go. Back on board here. You can see there Casey from the side here on holding on to Timothy's wheel here, might be able to ease up on the power. You can see he's just kind of slowing that cadence down a little bit. 187 drops the power, but stays on Timothy's wheel. And that's the drafting dynamic. He knows the corner's coming. He's not going to give a little push. He's going to push just to get to Timothy and then cruise through the corner as to not crash as he comes through the corner. And then, of course, up the little kicker, which is, gosh, I raced it today. I was like, wait a minute. Like, I know they changed the track, but this little kicker feels steeper to me. I don't know. It just maybe it's just the visual perception of having the honeycomb track seem like it was going by faster than this iridescent, beautiful track. So it has a different feel and dynamic to it. Oh, okay. Up out of the saddle, Nigel. What did I miss? Oh, geez, you pedaling and are you not moving? Is that what's happening, Nigel? I'm trying to see what's going on. It looks like you did slow down some there. He slid back there. Back on board here with Daniel. We'll have to get a report there. It might have been a mechanical. I know he dropped a chain earlier in one of the earlier Omniums here. So it's Casey, Timothy, Homer comes around Glenn, and maybe it's Homer. He's chucking away, but 2 kilometers to go. Casey on the front, and Timothy with him, and then Homer just about just 10, 12 seconds back here. Power up by Casey on the front, saying, oh, and inertia here, 55 kph. Now that's really a speed that you're more likely to see that power up deployed at, because it does take a lot to get up to 55 kph. The wind dynamics on the course right now has a little bit of the wind at his back, so he's playing the course dynamics, and he's playing the environment there, where he knows he has enough course where he's not going to crash out. And uses the power up, and it held him there, gave him a little bit of break, but he still has to keep that distance. You see Timothy behind him doing some power ups, Homer right beside him there, just now 20 seconds back. So that gap from 12 seconds between Homer and Casey has spread out to 20 seconds because of the way that Casey activated his power up and the speed differential that created. So it was the timing of it, and it was how fast he got up to speed. It was also using the wind. So super clever. That's the way to do it. That's experience not just in CVRcade racing. That's experience also with this particular track and with this particular configuration of power ups and wind on course. And 0.9 kilometers to go right now in this race. And Mixer chat, I did drop my my phone here because I want to know what you're going to say. Stay with me. All right, I've got it. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear you. Who are you rooting for? Is Timothy going to overtake Casey? What's going to happen? Go Homer. Hooligan. Let's see. That would be cool. I got to scroll up and I got to go back and see what I missed. Imagine if the TV and everything was powered by them cycling. Totally Black Mirror, right? Like imagine. Sorry, I was adjusting my chair. I dropped my phone for these comments. But yeah, right? Like, wouldn't it be great? I mean, we're powering watts, right? We should be able to do this. We should be able to light up the whole house. 0.4 kilometers ago, Casey puts his head down and absolutely drills it. Fog 7, what's your heart rate now? Right now, Casey, that's missing. Oh, his heart rate is 187 here on the front, which is pretty. He's like, 190. His heart skips a beat. We don't know when your heart skips a beat, Casey. We just know when it's beating like a drum roll. We can see those equalized heart rates here. Crucible, he's awesome. His strength and his hair. Oh, so yes, that was some Homer love right there. 0.1 kilometers to go, and you can see Casey. I think that was for Homer. I was reading the comments, Casey. I just got to run it out of order. I'm sorry. I love your hair too. I love it too. Casey comes across the line. Timothy comes across the line, and then Homer, the man here, coming across the line. Lots of love in the chat as always for our friend Homer. Team Cognition says, "Let's go, let's go." Here, go Homer, go. X Hooligan 357, and well done. Homer ends up taking the third spot there. Louise here finishing off the race as well here, strategically coming through. You can see his point of view here, and he navigates that chicane beautifully here on the outside, comes through the middle, comes to the outside. That is like that is skill. He made it look easy, ladies and gentlemen. The lane, the way that dynamic and way that was a perfectly executed chicane at the end. So well done. And here comes Daniel also coming across the line. Also Team Cognition. Casey, Luis, Homer, Daniel, Nigel, and that is Nigel's coming across the race now. Lots of sparks. Thank you. So many sparks. Congrats, Casey, Timothy, and Homer. Nice work, Casey. See CS Tricks waiting at the banner for the rest. X Hooligan, guys, Glassy Bubbles, Fog 7, X Hooligan. Listen, thank you so much for the sparks. Thanks for the love. Thanks for cheering for our racers. CVRcade, follow us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We do race live here on Mixer. Lots of fun. 4 race omniums. You can ride physically or you can ride by keyboard. You can get into the game free to play. Download at CVRcade.com and be sure to follow us and join us in the broadcast each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We race on 2 o'clock. So 2 o'clock. Sorry, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 10 p.m. That's Eastern time. That happens to be my home time zone, so you can do the world clock. But these racers are from all over the world there. Casey does shake off his hair because I was reading the comment. about Homer. Little bit of hair jealousy. That's okay. That's all right. Congrats, Casey. How are you feeling? Second Omnium of the day, and you take it the top spot. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, that was a hard hour. I was looking at my averages, and they were really close earlier today to now. I mean, I was 360 average for one of those races, 340s for two of them. Timothy kind of helped motivate me that last one. We were just kind of yo-yoing back and forth. I could pull away from him on the hill. He would pass me on the flat, and it helped me stay motivated. But that was all in. It was one of those ones where I didn't want to be off the front, but once you're there, you just kind of got to go. You're not going to give it back. So that was fun. It's good. Had a lot of fun with Luis. Homer, Daniel, they're all pushing hard. Just good workouts.
Well, we appreciate you coming in into the race here. Let's check in with Luis, who also was killing it tonight, kind of giving you a run there for your money there, Casey. Luis, welcome back to CVRcade Racing. Does it feel good to be home?
Yeah, it feels awesome. It was a good workout today. Everyone came out to race. Team Cognition did great. Casey, and also Timothy and Glenn that were on keyboards. It was cool that I saw at the end there Glenn stopped, so that was cool. To allow me to go through. And yeah, it was good practice. Season 2 is coming up, so it's good to be back racing.
Well, congratulations on a great race. You also had Daniel. We'll get to him in a second, but Homer, who slid up to third, upsetting the apple cart there, pushing Nigel back down. Hey, Homer. So you just came out to get some miles, and you end up podium, making it to the podium. How's that feel?
Yeah, well, it feels good. It's like came out to get miles and got a little extra, so that's good.
Well, congratulations. Will we see you again on Thursday?
I hope so.
I hope so too. We're watching the replay here right now, the sprint finish between Casey and Nigel on the Aquavello, the first of 4 races here. Then we brought it to Cityscape, the low skill event with uncrashable ability, a 2-time multiplier, 3 times on Cityscape. We had a midway break between Luis and Casey, who used the combination power up to split up the action. And then in the front of the race, it was Luis and Casey trading some pulls up front, communicating via the broadcast to get that pace line going and work together. So they gave each other a couple punches, and then they gave each other a couple pulls, and then they just duked it out at the end on the sprint finish, just head to head at the end. And you can see what did it in the end was Luis having the Razor's Edge power up that Casey had spent earlier in the slugfest. So it did come down to the strategic use and the holding of that power by Luis and being able to finally execute it right at the finish and maintain that lead. And Casey took second on that night. Then we went to Mountain Bike Course by Jesper, the high skill event, 2.5 multiplier, 6 laps, power plant, inertia, and wind at your back. Less lanes on this mountain bike course, obstacles on the left and right hand side, little rolling punchers that these guys have to contend with. And in the end, we did have Casey just out of the gate, just had some seconds to make up and was able to make them up after each lap. And then on the final lap, it was an inertia power up that Luis pulled that locked him to the speed that allowed Casey to come through and then take the win there, racing to the corner and taking it through the corner and taking the win. Then we moved to the 4th and final race of the Omnium. 4 laps on Saturn circuit, 8 kilometers, 2 weightlifted, 1 underdog, and 1 inertia with wind out on course. We did see some more strategy play. We did see Luis have an early crash. Casey dropping the weightlifted here on the little puncher, knows when to use it, knows when to slow down. Nigel doing a strong finish. I think he might have had a mechanical out on course here, but Homer allowed Homer to come through and take third on it there. You can see that Nigel was sitting up thinking, what's going on on here? Casey coming around, navigating there, one hand on the keyboard, making sure he's tapping the brakes, but not over braking so he can take the chicane and get himself across the line without crashing. And these track designers do that. They put in those tricky little turns and maneuvers before the finish line, but it was Casey who finished on the day first place and also on that race. So that is it for CVRcade Zone T Racing. I want to thank Casey, Luis, Homer, Daniel, Nigel, Aaron, all for streaming in. I want to thank Glenn and Timothy for being on keyboard, making the race interesting. Mixer, thanks for joining us. This is CVRcade Racing. If you like what you see, please follow us. Join us Tuesday, Thursday, in Saturday, and Fog 7, Glenn, X-Hooligan. We hope to see you back here. Chrono Slayers, thank you so much for joining. Crygad, Chrono Slayers, Tremont. So X-Hooligan, a lot of familiar names, some new names, Allison Duck, Tay Fearless. Thank you all, Crucible. Thank you so much for cheering on the racers. It means a lot to them. We hope to see you again on Thursday. From all of us at CVRcade, we will see you then.
But no, Beth, yours goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.